Hi, do you always panic when you think about mathematics? Or you are not satisfied with your grades? Not to worry, that's why we're here. BrilliantMaths.com is here to ensure that you excel in maths. Subscribe to BrilliantMaths.com, subscribe to the website, to the modules, and you will actually see yourself improve. Today's lesson is taken from Brilliant Maths Module 2, and we're looking at ratio, proportion, and rates. Get a copy and let's work together. Ratio. Ratios are used to compare parts of a quantity or to compare two or more quantities. Proportion. A proportion compares a part of a quantity to the whole quantity. Let's bring it to real life. Let's think about a class of 20 students where you have 12 boys and 8 girls. The ratio of boys to girls is 12 to 8. And the ratio of girls to boys is 8 to 12. That means that ratio is an ordered pair. You must take note of the order. Boys to girls is different from girls to boys. So that ratio is comparing the number of boys in the class to the number of girls. Then let's look at proportion. The proportion of boys will be 12 out of 20. That's why we say that proportion compares a part of a quantity to the whole. So the number of boys over the total number of students. So the proportion of boys is 12 over 20, and then you reduce that to lowest term. If the quantities are in different units, first convert them to the same unit before you can compare. For example, if you are comparing kilograms to grams, change them to the same unit. It is usually easier to change to the smaller unit. So change your kilograms to grams before you compare. And finally, always simplify ratios to lowest terms. In the first example, it says simplify 25 ratio 120. To simplify ratios, you find a common factor. Sometimes you might need to find the highest common factor and then divide them by the highest common factor. Here, 5 is a factor of 25 and 5 is also a factor of 120. So if we divide both of them by 5, we have 25 divided by 5 is 5, and 120 divided by 5, 5 into 12 is 2, and we're left with 2 because 5 times 2 is 10. 12 take away 10 is 2, and 5 into 20 is 4. So the simplest form is 5 ratio 24. In the second example, it says express 12 centimeters to 2 meters as a ratio in the simplest form. Here, like we said earlier, if the two quantities are in different units, first convert them to the same unit before you compare. So we'll need to change the 2 meters to centimeters so that both of them can be in the same unit. So we write it out as 12 centimeters ratio 2 centimeters. 100 centimeters make a meter. So we'll multiply 2 meters by 100 to change it to centimeters. And then ratios have no units at the end because the units are the same, so they cancel out. We need a common factor of 12 and 200, and that factor will be 4. 12 divided by 4 will give us 3, and 200 divided by 4. 4 in 20 is 5. 4 in 200 is 50. So 12 centimeters to 2 meters in the simplest form is actually 3 ratio 50. Let's look at another example. In this example, we want to look at ratio on equal sharing. How do you share in a given ratio? Example, divide 400 pounds between Messi and Kiki in the ratio 2 to 3. How much will each girl receive? So we're sharing 400 pounds, but we're not sharing it equally. We're giving Messi 2 parts and Kiki 3 parts. How much will each of them receive? So solution, the first thing is write down the total amount. How much are we sharing? Total amount is £400. Then, next you find the sum of the ratios. That's to tell you how many parts you need to share the money to be able to divide it in ratio 2 to 3. So you find the sum of the ratios. So total ratio is equal to 2 plus 3, which is equal to 5. So we're going to split the money into 5 parts. And from the 5 parts, give Mercy 2 parts and give Kiki 3 parts. So before we split into 5 parts, or rather, to split into 5 parts, we have to divide 400 by 5 to get the value of 1 part, or 1 ratio. So 1 part is equal to 400 pounds divided by 5, because the 5 parts is equal to the total amount. So always note that the sum of the ratios will be equal to the total amount of sum of whatever is being shared. So 1 part is 400 divided by 5. And 5 into 40 is 8. So 5 into 400 is 80 pounds. So if 1 part or 1 ratio is 80 pounds, Mercy gets 2 parts. So Mercy's share will be 80 pounds times 2. And that will give us 160 pounds. To find Kiki's share, you either multiply 80 by 3, or you can subtract 160 pounds from 400 pounds. You'll get the same answer. So whichever one you choose will be fine. I would like to multiply 80 pounds by 3 to get 240 pounds. So Mercy gets 160 pounds and Kiki gets 240 pounds. And if you add the 2 amounts together, you get the total, which is 400. Very interesting. Although the sharing is not fair, but that is how you share in a given ratio. In this example, we want to learn how to calculate with ratio. That means we're calculating with limited information. Let's see how we do that. For example, the ratio of male to female spectators in a football game is 4 to 5. Ratio of male to female. Remember that ratio is an ordered pair. 4,500 men watched the match. What was the total attendance at the game? We only have the ratios and the number of men, and we're supposed to find the total attendance. Before we can find the total attendance, we have to find the number of women and then add them together to give us the total. So let's see the information we have. Male to female is 4 to 5. And then we had 4,500 men. That means that 4 portions or 4 parts is equal to 4,500. That's the only information we have. Therefore, 4 parts equals 4,500 men. All right? If 4 parts is equal to that, then what is 1 part? So 1 part will be 4,500 divided by 4. Input that into your calculator, you'll get 1,125. Can you just check? 4,500 divided by 4, and that gives you 1,125 men. So that implies that 1 portion or 1 part is equal to 1,125 people. So for women, the ratio is 5. So it's just 1 part more than 4. So to find the number of women, you can decide to add 1,125 to the number of men. If you do that, it will be correct. Or you can multiply 1,125 by 5. So I'll choose to do that. 1,125 times 5, and that gives us 5,625 women. 5,625 women. So if we have that, what will be the total attendance? So total attendance will be equal to 4,500 men plus 5,625 women. And that would give us 10,125 people. You can check that. Plus 4,500. And that is equal to 10,125 spectators. So the total attendance at the game was 10,125 people. This is what I call the unitary method, where you find one part and then use that to work out the total. There's also an algebraic method where you use algebra. We write the number of men over women. We write the ratio as a fraction. So we have men over women is 4 over 5. And that is equal to 4,500 over x. Let the number of women be x because we don't know it. We don't know the number of women that attended the game. So to find x, you cross multiply. So if you cross multiply, 4x is equal to 5 times 4,500. So let's do that. 5 times 4,500. And that gives us 22,500. So the number of women, remember, is equal to x. So we divide 22,500 by 4 to get the number of women divided by 4. And that gives us 5,625, the same number we got when we used the unitary method. So we have 5,625 women. So the total attendance, that will be, let's write it here, 4,500 plus 5,625. And that will give us 10,125 people. So whichever method you find easier, stick to it. In this example, we want to discuss direct proportion. What do we mean by direct proportion, or what do we mean when we say something is directly proportional to another? If workers in a pottery factory are paid according to how many plates they produce, the wage paid to each worker is directly proportional to the number of plates produced. So we're saying that if the worker produces only 1 plate, he gets paid for 1. If he produces 2, you multiply how much he or she was paid for 1 by 2 to get the pay. If he produces 10, you just multiply by that figure how much he or she is paid for 1. So as the number of plates increases, the wage also increases. So suppose the worker earns 20 rand for producing a plate. How much will he or she earn for producing 10 plates? You simply multiply 20 rand by 10, and that gives you 200 rand. So that's an example of direct proportion. You find the value of 1, and then you multiply subsequently to find the value of any other number. Here we want to solve problems directly related to direct proportion. So let's look at this example. 8 loaves of bread will make sandwiches for 18 people. How many sandwiches can be made from 20 loaves? There are two methods. We either use the unitary method or the ratio method, which is also called the algebraic method, where you equate the number of sandwiches which we are looking for, you make it x. So using the unitary method, 8 loaves for 18 people. So we want to find out how many people you can make sandwiches for with 1 loaf. So if 8 loaves makes for 18, then 1 loaf, that means you are dividing by 8. If you divide 8 by 8, you get 1. So you also divide 18 by 8 to get the number of people you can make sandwiches for with 1 loaf. So 8 into 18 will give you 2.25. So that's like 2 people and a quarter pack for 1 person. So if we have 20 loaves then, how many people can we make sandwiches for? It will be 2.25 times 20. So for 20 loaves, it will be 2.25 times 20 people. All right? And that will give us 45 people. Because 2.25 times 20 will give us 45. 2.25 times 10 will be 22.5. And 22.5 times 2 will be equal to 45. So that's the unitary method. Let's look at the ratio method. So we'll write out the ratios. 8 loaves to 18 people. Let the number of people that we can make for with 20 loaves be x. So 8 loaves to 18, 20 loaves to x. Then we write it out as a fraction. 8 over 18 would then be equal to 20 over x. You can put any of them on top as numerator or denominator. You just need to be consistent. You can also decide to put the people on top, but put the people on top for both sides. Once you are consistent, your answer will be correct. So we'll cross multiply. So when we cross multiply, we have that 8x is equal to 18 times 20. Remember, we're finding x. X is the number of people we can make sandwiches for with 20 loaves. So if 8x is equal to 18 times 20, then x is equal to 18 times 20 over 8. Put that in your calculator, and it will also give you 45. So if you use 8 loaves to make sandwiches for 18 people, you use 20 loaves to make sandwiches for 45 people. Try this out. You can get more from Brilliant Maths Module 2. Here, we want to look at indirect proportion. When do you have indirect proportion? It's in a situation where one quantity is increasing and the other is decreasing. Let's look at these examples. If 8 people can pick the apples on a farm in 6 days, how long will it take 12 people? So 8 people, 6 days. So it takes 8 people 6 days to pick up the apples on the farm. So if you had only 1 person, how long will it take? Will it take more or less? 8 people would take, 8 people takes 6 days. So 1 person, if you had only 1 person, it would definitely take more days. So it would take 8 times 6 days. So 1 person will take 8 times 6 days. So 1 person will take more. What if you have 12 people? 12 people will take less days than one person. So you divide 8 times 6 by 12. So that will be 12 people will take 48 over 12 because 8 times 6 is 48. So 48 over 12 days. So 12 people will take 48 divided by 12 days. And 48 divided by 12 is equal to 4. So 12 people will take 4 days. The next example says, some friends share the cost of a ride. If there are 3 friends, it will cost $18 each. How much will it cost if there are 5 friends? So the total cost of the ride will be $18 times the number of friends. And there are 3. So $18 times 3 is the total cost. So total cost of ride is equal to $18 times 3. 3 times 8 is 24, carry 2. 3 times 1 is 3. So it will cost $54. So the cost of the ride is actually $54. If there are 5 friends, how much will each friend pay then? So you see the number of friends are increasing, so the cost is going to reduce. That is an example of indirect proportion. The number of friends increase, and then the cost that each friend pays decreases. So if there are 5 friends, each friend will pay 54. That same total cost will now be divided by 5. So 5 into 5 is 1. Or rather, 5 into 54 is 10. Remember, 40 pence. 5 into 40 pence is 80. So each of the 5 friends will have to pay $10.80. In this example, we want to learn how to calculate rates. We calculate different kinds of rates. You can calculate the rate at which water is flowing through a tap or through a hose. But for example 1, we're calculating the rate of fuel consumption. It says a bus consumes 110 liters of fuel when it covers a distance of 149.6 kilometers. So when the bus travels 149.6 kilometers, it would have used up 110 liters of fuel. Then the question is, find the rate of fuel consumption in kilometers per liter. Km/L is kilometers per liter. All right, so what do? We write down the information that we have already. 110 liters travels 149.6 kilometers. So, assuming you have only 1 liter, what distance would the bus cover? So you divide 149.6 by 110. So 149.6 kilometers divided by 110 liters. And that gives us 1.36. Check that out with your calculator. Yes, you get 1.36 kilometers. That means that with 1 liter of fuel, the bus will cover 1.36 kilometers. So the rate of fuel consumption is actually 1.36 kilometers per liter. In the second example, it says express 50 grams per minute in kilograms per hour. So first and foremost, you look at the units in which the first one has been expressed. It is grams per minute. and we want to change it to kilograms per hour. So that means that in 1 minute, you have 50 grams. So what if it's 1 hour? 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. So that implies that in 60 minutes, you would have 60 times 50 grams, and that will be 3,000 grams. And we know that 1,000 grams is equal to 1 kilogram. So 3,000 grams will be equal to 3 kilograms. So expressing 50 grams per minute in kilograms per hour will give us 3 kilograms per hour, because an hour is 60 minutes. For more examples and practice, get a copy of Brilliant Maths Module 2. There are lots and lots of examples and exercises in there for you. We want to solve problems that involve distance, speed, and time. There is a distance, speed, time triangle, which makes it very easy. So on top of the triangle, we have a D, and then S and T. Look at how it works. If you want to find distance, distance is speed times time. If you want to find speed, speed is distance over time. So you are dividing the distance by the time to get the speed. And if you want to find time, time is distance divided by speed. So if the question involves finding speed, you use the formula for speed. Simply divide the distance by time. If the question involves finding distance, you multiply the speed by the time you have been given. And if you are to find time, you divide the distance by the speed. It's as simple as that. So example, find the average speed of a car that travels 40 kilometers in 2 hours, 30 minutes. Time should be in hours. So convert 2 hours, 30 minutes to hours. That becomes 2.5 or 2.5 hours. And then the formula for speed, speed is distance over time. The car traveled a total of 40 kilometers. So that's the distance. Speed is distance over time. Make it a habit to always write your formula so it will stay with you. You will never forget. So the distance, the total distance is 40 kilometers over the time taken is 2.5 hours. So the speed, if you divide that, 40 divided by 2.5 will give us 16. So the speed of the car is equal to 16 kilometers per hour. So that means that the car travels 16 kilometers every hour. So let's see. Let's try to check that. If it travels 16 kilometers the first hour, plus another 16 kilometers the second hour, 16 plus 16 is 32. So in 2 hours, it travels 32 kilometers, plus, remember this is a check. In 2 hours, it travels 32 kilometers. And then in half an hour, which is 30 minutes, it will travel 8 kilometers. So in 2.5 hours, it actually travels 40 kilometers. So our speed is correct. The speed of the car is 16 kilometers per hour. For more of this, get a copy of Brilliant Maths Module 2. Brilliant Maths is there to ensure that you excel in maths. Subscribe to the website, subscribe to the modules, and you will see yourself improve. We are here for you. I am Ngozi Orevaodini, and always remember that maths is fun, and you